Hiya crafty folks, Amy here, and today I have a single layer stamped Halloween card to share with you. So let's jump right in. I recently acquired this stamp set. It's super cute. It's called Trick or Treat, and it's from Simon Hurley. And if it is still available, I will link it in the video description box below. But I have a card base of 110 pound Nina Classic Crest, and I have this Life of the Party ink pad set from Catherine Pooler. Now here are a couple photos of the finished card, nice and bright and colorful, but no coloring in of the stamps because I didn't have the patience for it today, and a funny little sentiment on the inside. So I'm going to show you how I made it, but really it came together really quickly. So I knew I wanted to use that cute mummy bear and this boo on the card in a lot of bright colors. So I'm just kind of laying the cellophane down over the card base just to kind of figure out placement. But ultimately I load this boo stamp up into my mini Misty, and I do start the stamping directly on the card base. So there is no layering, there's no bulk on this, it is just single layer, so it'll be nice and flat and easy to ship. So I'm just lining this up here right on the card base and figuring out where I want to start in terms of location, in terms of color. I don't really have an idea, but I do know that I want to play with these bright colors, and if I'm honest, it's going to end up in a rainbow because, you know, that's just where my mind goes. But I'm just going to condition the stamp with my finger because I haven't used it before, and that will get off the manufacturer's goo. And then I just start stamping away. So I start working through the colors of the rainbow, and then I have to figure out how to keep the stamp in the Misty but move it down exactly as much as it needs to. So I'm going to clean it off with my stamp chamois and dry it off with my hand in between every stamp. But I figure that I end up needing 3.5 of the blocks on the little grid mat below to make it the perfect placement. So I move the card base up 3.5, and it's okay if it does kick out the side of the Misty. It won't crush your cardstock or anything. It'll be fine. So I just move it up 3.5 blocks and then just stamp away through the colors of the rainbow that I want to use. So again, I do the half and then 3 more blocks, and then it's the perfect placement for the next boo, and it keeps them nice in a straight line. You don't have to try and do it by hand. That's the beauty of a stamp positioner like this. You can stamp as many times as you need to if you don't get a good impression, or you could do a nice line of even stamping like this. So again, I'm just working up through the color here. I do also have a full-size Misty. I probably would have a lot more room to work with. I probably should have used that one, but this mini Misty ended up working fine. I realize as I'm getting down to the bottom though here that my placement wasn't the greatest. I'm not the best at math, so I didn't really do any planning on this, but I figured out it was a little bit wonky on the top and bottom. So I do have enough room to squeeze in this blue color, but then the purple fruity fuchsia, no, what? I don't even know what I'm saying. Flirty fuchsia. Oh my goodness. Wow. Anyway, which is my favorite color, ends up kind of off the top and the bottom. So if I did this again, I'd probably configure it and maybe skip the top and the bottom where it's kind of overhanging, just because it's not my favorite, but it ended up okay in the end. So if you don't like where it kind of goes off the edge, then maybe just skip the top and the bottom and, you know, figure out placement a little bit better than I did. But overall it ended up okay, and I was able to use the flirty fuchsia twice on the composition. So I have to just kind of figure out again here how to do just the bottom part off the edge of the card base here. So I'm kind of trying to reconfigure again where it was, and then move it accordingly up 3.5 blocks, and then I just end up getting just the top of the B off the bottom. So I'm just going to use that color again to stamp that, and then I will move on to the next part. Now the black that I'm going to use for the bear and the additional boo on top of the bear is VersaFine Clair Nocturne. It is a black pigment ink, so it takes a while to dry, but it's nice and crisp and dark, and it's my favorite black ink to stamp with. It doesn't work for Copic coloring because it is pigment, so that means it would kind of smear if you used it with alcohol inks, but it is waterproof, so it's the ideal ink to use if you're gonna use any, I don't know, water-based mediums like watercoloring or anything like that. So I'm just kind of figuring out where I want to put this adorable bear. He is pretty big, which I love, and I love just this style of bear seems to continue through Simon Hurley stamp sets. I have a few of them, and they're just really fun. So I was trying to figure out if I could use that cool word bubble, but it didn't really work with the composition. So just kind of nestling the mummy bear in where I think he works on the composition, and then I'll pick him up with my Misty Door and condition the stamp and stamp away with the black pigment ink. And I do decide I want to do another boo above him. So pick it up with the Misty Door, and I realized I didn't dry off that boo very well, so I did have a little bit of water that got on the cardstock. So I'm hoping when I stamp the black down for that boo on the top, it'll kind of cover my mistake. And in the end, you can't really see it, thankfully. But just make sure that your stamp is nice and dry before you move on to the next step, so you don't make the little mistake like I did. So just stamping it a couple times. I realized the middle of the bear didn't stamp the greatest, so I'm using my press tool, but I ended up having to do some stamping CPR on the little mummy bear's heart just to make sure he was nice and dark in the center. So that finished that stamping. And then I did bust out my bigger Misty here because I did want to stamp on the inside of the card. There's so many fun little snarky sentiments in here. It says hand over the candy and nobody gets hurt, and then the happy Halloween. But I did decide to stamp those in 2 different colors. So I'm going to do the finer text with the black pigment just because this is the best for any like fine detail sort of stamping. I will often gravitate to this VersaFine Clair, and then to bring in a little bit more color, I decide to stamp the Happy Halloween scripty looking stamp with one of the same colors that I used on the front. So kind of continues a little bit of the design in terms of color onto the inside of the card, and just makes it a little more interesting so it's not all black stamping. So I just kind of eyeball that, get that where I want it. Again, condition the stamp just because this is a new stamp set, and then I'm going to bring in some color. I have the Tiki Torch, which is basically orange. It doesn't really look like it on screen, but it is a nice, Halloween orange color. So I'm bringing down the lid using my press tool from Tailored Expressions, and then stamping that to finish the inside of the card. So came together really quickly. I was able to use some fun colors and these adorable new stamps. So thanks so much for watching and spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I will link the available products in the video description box below. I do think I found a place that has that stamp set, but I think it's final sale. So jump on it if you want it because I don't know how long it'll be around. So thanks again. I'll catch you next time. Bye.